Is $1 million enough to retire or be considered rich? Most people think that being rich is about how much money you make. But here's the truth. Real wealth is achieved the moment your passive income covers your lifestyle. That is the exact day that work becomes optional. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to calculate your financial freedom number, the number that tells you exactly how much you need to never have to work for money again. And trust me, it's simpler than it sounds. Welcome back. I'm Ethan Ho, certified financial planner and your financial advocate. Around here, we help high-income earners, growth-minded professionals, and business owners turn money into freedom and choice. Money is simply a tool to live life on your terms, and most people crave freedom, choices, security, and optionality. And today, I will be walking you step by step through how to calculate your financial freedom number. Here's what we'll cover. 1, how to build your retirement spending plan. 2, how to identify your secure income sources and where to actually find those numbers. 3, how to measure the gap. And 4, how to run the math on your financial freedom number. Stick around to the end and I'm going to reveal the 3 variables that matter most to your success and the big shift in retirement planning that you need to know about. All right, let's dive in. Let me start with a question. If you stopped working tomorrow, do you know how much it would cost to continue living your current lifestyle? That answer is your retirement spending plan. And it's step 1 to finding your financial freedom number. Here's how I want you to think about it. Work in today's dollars. Don't try to guess how much things are going to cost 20 years from now. You're just going to overwhelm yourself. Instead, ask, what does it take to live my lifestyle right now? And here's the good news. You don't need to track every coffee or Amazon order because the truth is your spending will change in retirement. Instead, figure out how much you need for each of the 5 big expense categories: housing, healthcare, taxes, debt obligations, lifestyle, and discretionary. Now let's use housing as an example to illustrate this. Imagine 2 neighbors. Each want to spend $120,000 per year or $10,000 a month in retirement. One still has a $3,000 mortgage and the other owns their home outright. Each have the same lifestyle or spending goal in retirement, but the one without the mortgage will need approximately $900,000 less saved and invested to reach their spending goal in retirement. But here's the nuance. Paying off your home early isn't always the best move and by far not something I'm recommending. Sure, it frees up cash flow, but it also comes with opportunity cost. Every dollar that you put into the house is a dollar that's not invested somewhere else. Depending on your mortgage rate and the market, investing could actually leave you ahead. The key takeaway here that I want you to focus on is figuring out what your enough is, because the smaller your enough is, the easier it is going to be to hit your financial freedom number. And how you define enough depends on the choices that you make when it comes to these big 5 expense categories. So get clear on how much you need for each of these categories to happily live your best life. The less you need, the easier it is going to be to make your work optional. Okay, so now that you've mapped out how much you need to spend, the next step is to figure out how much guaranteed sources of income you can count on. I want you to think of this as your baseline income in retirement, the money that shows up in your bank account before you even have to touch your portfolio. For most people, it comes from a few main sources. Social Security. Super easy to find. You can go to ssa.gov, create a login, and see your personal estimate. Pensions. If you're lucky enough to have one, they're usually based on your years of service, a multiplier, and your final salary. HR can tell you your exact formula. Annuities. If you've purchased one, check your monthly statement. It should show you your projected monthly payout. Business or rental income. You may own some rental properties, you may have royalties, you may have some other source of business income. With these numbers, just be conservative with your estimate. Now let's make this real. So imagine your retirement spending plan is $120,000 a year. Social Security covers $40,000 and a pension adds another $20,000. That's $60,000 already covered before you have to touch your investment accounts, which means your portfolio only needs to fill the gap in the other $60,000. But here's the nuance. Just like with the housing example, there are trade-offs. Take Social Security, for example. You can start earlier and get smaller checks for longer, or wait and get a bigger check, but for a fewer number of years. Neither option is perfect. It just depends on your plan and your needs. The key takeaway here is that the bigger your baseline income, the smaller the gap your investments are going to need to cover, and therefore the smaller your freedom number. So now that you know how much you will spend and the baseline income you have, now it's time to connect the dots. Here's a simple formula. Spending goal minus your secure income is your gap. So using the same example as earlier, if your retirement spending plan is $120,000 a year, Social Security covers you for $40,000 and your pension covers you for $20,000, the gap that you need to fill is another $60,000 per year. Now the big question is, how much do you need saved and invested to reliably cover that $60,000 gap? This is where the old 4% rule comes in. In plain English, if you withdraw only 4% of your portfolio every year, it has a pretty good chance of lasting 30 years. The action step here is simple. Multiply your gap by 25. So take that $60,000, multiply it by 25, and that equals 1.5 million. That's how much you would need to have in your portfolio to generate $60,000 per year, assuming a 4% withdrawal rate. That 1.5 million in this example is your financial freedom number. But here's the nuance. The 4% rule is just a rule of thumb. Some people want to be more conservative and plan at a 3% withdrawal rate, which means you're going to need a bigger portfolio. Others are comfortable planning at 5%, which means you would need less for your financial freedom number, but also means you're taking on more risk and probably need to rely on more flexibility in retirement. And your financial freedom number isn't just about percentages, it really depends on a few personal choices as well. How long are you planning for? Some people plan for 30 or 40 years of income, some people plan for less. What you want to leave behind? Do you want to pass money on to family or charity, or are you comfortable spending down to zero? How much secure income you already have? The more of your lifestyle that's covered by Social Security, pensions, your annuities, or other sources of guaranteed income, the less pressure on your portfolio. And here's one more thing that most people miss. Retirement spending isn't flat. It usually comes in 3 stages. The go-go years. This is when you're still young, you typically have higher spending, more travel, and more money, more expenses on lifestyle. The slow-go years. This is where age catches up to you, travel starts to slow down, and naturally expenses drop along with it. The no-go years. This is when you're getting old, travel stops, activities slow down, but healthcare costs go up. The key takeaway here is that finding your financial freedom starts with simple math. Find your gap, apply your withdrawal rate, and multiply. But your real number depends on your timeline, your goals, and how your spending actually evolves. That's the exact type of nuance that we help our clients with here at Claw Capital, turning rules of thumb into a personal plan that you can feel confident in. Now you might be thinking, Ethan, there's so many variables when you're planning for retirement. How do I keep track of it all? Here's the truth, you don't have to. Focus on the levers that you can actually control. That is the secret. Here are the big 3. 1, savings rate. The more you save versus spend, the faster you hit your financial freedom. Remember, high income doesn't guarantee success. To increase your savings rate, you either need to make more or spend less. Do what makes the most sense for you. 2, asset allocation and your investment strategy. Align your portfolio with your comfort level. Too much risk and you lose sleep. Too little risk and your money won't grow enough. Getting this right helps with number 3, time invested. Compounding is your best ally here. The longer you stay invested, the harder your money works for you, and the easier it becomes to hit your financial freedom number. That is why the difference between starting in your 20s versus your 30s is so massive. So the key takeaway here is control what you can. Savings, allocation, and time invested, and you're going to tilt the odds in your favor. Now, before we wrap up, let me zoom out for a second. Old school retirement planning relied on guaranteed income sources like Social Security, pension, and annuities. For many people, that covered everything, but modern retirement looks different. Most people don't have pensions anymore, which means you're relying on your 401k, IRA, Roth, or your brokerage account to fill the gap. And here's one other thing to remember. Whatever freedom number that you came up with today is going to rise or increase with inflation. That's normal. Prices go up, and so will your spending needs. That's why I recommend keeping it simple. Run your numbers in today's dollars and then revisit the exercise once a year. If you adjust as life changes, you will always stay on track. So the key takeaway here is that your financial freedom number isn't set in stone, it's a living number. So let's pull this together. 1, build your spending plan in today's dollars. 2, add up your secure income. 3, subtract to find your gap. 4, divide by a reasonable withdrawal rate to ballpark your financial freedom number. And 5, focus on what you can control: savings, allocation, and time invested. That's how you go from guessing to knowing. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like and subscribe button to help more people find this channel. And if you want a more personalized look at your financial freedom number, that's exactly what we do at Claw Capital. And before you go, check out my video on spending $10,000 a month in retirement. It goes into more details about spending in retirement and how asset allocation makes a massive difference.